Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. This week, something big has grabbed the nation's attention. President Trump has once again floated the idea of sending out $2,000 stimulus checks, this time saying the money would come directly from tariffs. In his own words, he's thinking maybe $1,000 to $2,000 per person. That's a striking claim because tariffs have already generated hundreds of billions of dollars this year. Trump is presenting this as a kind of dividend to the people. Language you'd normally hear from a corporation talking to its shareholders, not a politician speaking to the public. So, the big question is, could this really happen, and what would it mean for your wallet? Stick around because today we're breaking it all down and looking at both sides of this idea. Before we dive deeper, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. If a $2,000 check hit your bank account tomorrow, what would be the first thing you'd spend it on? Groceries, bills, savings? Let me know below. This isn't the first time Trump has raised an idea like this. Earlier this year, he talked about sharing government savings directly with the public. Now he's back with the tariff angle, pitching it as a win-win. Part of the money would go toward paying down the national debt, and part would be sent directly to citizens. On paper, it almost sounds like a loyalty program. America collects revenue from tariffs, and citizens, acting like shareholders, get a rebate. But here's where it gets complicated. Tariffs are essentially taxes on imports, meaning companies bringing goods into the U.S. pay those fees. The real question is, who ultimately shoulders the cost? Many economists argue that it's usually consumers. Why? Because companies typically raise their prices to offset tariff costs. So if you're paying higher prices at the store for food or clothes because of tariffs, and then you receive a government check, is it truly extra money in your pocket? Or just reimbursement for what you already lost to higher prices? This is why people are split. Supporters see the checks as a real boost, pointing out that the last round of stimulus helped markets climb, gave households breathing room, and spurred spending. Critics, on the other hand, think it's smoke and mirrors, arguing that the pain of higher prices may outweigh the benefit of a one-time payment. Some people have even told me that with grocery prices so high, a check like this wouldn't last a month. It's also important to remember, this proposal is not law yet. For anything like this to move forward, Congress would have to pass legislation allowing tariff revenues to be redirected into direct payments. Right now, there's no official program in place. Senator Josh Hawley has actually introduced a bill proposing smaller checks, around $600 per person, funded by tariffs, but it hasn't made much progress. Many lawmakers argue those funds should go toward reducing the national debt instead of being handed out. So, even though Trump is talking about $2,000 checks, the road to making that happen is far from simple. Timing also matters. With the U.S. currently experiencing a government shutdown, these kinds of promises can sound even more urgent. Families are worried about rising costs, federal workers are concerned about missed paychecks, and in that environment, the idea of extra cash in hand is extremely appealing. But whether it's realistic is another story. Tariffs themselves have ripple effects. They're designed to protect U.S. industries, but if used too aggressively, they can fuel inflation. Some experts have even warned about stagflation, a scenario where prices keep rising while economic growth slows. That's the last thing anyone wants because it squeezes everyone at once. So while Trump's plan may sound generous, critics warn it could actually make the economic picture worse in the long run. Now, let's step back for some perspective. 100 years ago, tariffs actually funded much of the federal budget. Before income taxes became the main source of government revenue, tariffs were the norm. Supporters of today's tariffs point to that era as proof that it can work. But the economy back then looked very different, dominated by steel, railroads, and factories. Today, supply chains stretch across multiple countries. Every tariff ends up functioning like a hidden tax on consumers. That's why many economists believe trying to bring back tariffs as a primary funding source just doesn't fit in our modern globalized world. And yet, the appeal of a $2,000 check is undeniable. For many households, that's rent, car payments, or simply catching up on bills. People remember how previous stimulus payments felt, especially during the pandemic. Even if this one comes with trade-offs, for families who are struggling, it's immediate help. That's why you see such strong emotional reactions, both positive and negative, whenever Trump mentions it. So, what does this mean for you? First, as of right now, nothing has been signed into law. No checks are coming tomorrow. If Congress were to approve something like this, there would almost certainly be income limits, phase-outs, and specific eligibility rules. It wouldn't necessarily be a blanket payment to everyone. Second, even if checks were approved, the timing would be uncertain. lawmakers move slowly, and pushing a plan like this through both chambers of Congress would be a major battle. On top of that, even though the administration frames this as a dividend and not a bailout, the real-world impact would look different for each household. If you mostly buy American-made goods, you might not feel tariff costs as much, and the check could be a net benefit. If you rely heavily on imports, you might feel like you're simply being refunded for the higher prices you've already paid. Another part of this conversation that hasn't received much attention is the debt side of the equation. Trump has said part of the tariff revenue would go toward paying down the national debt, but with U.S. debt now exceeding $38 trillion and interest costs ballooning, some experts argue using tariffs for checks instead of debt reduction is like skipping your credit card bill to buy yourself a new TV. It feels good short-term, but the bigger problem doesn't go away. Now let's look at the politics. Some lawmakers see this as smart strategy. They can say, we're not raising taxes, we're not adding debt, we're giving money back to the people. That's a powerful message during an election season. Opponents, however, call it political theater. They know the hurdles to actually making it happen are steep, and when voters are hurting, even promises of relief, whether or not they materialize, can build support. Even if these checks never happen, the fact that they're being discussed tells us something important. Direct relief has become a powerful idea in American politics. Whether it's stimulus checks, rebates, or tax credits, people are increasingly looking for ways the government can help them manage rising costs, and that pressure isn't going away. Right now, the $2,000 check is more proposal than reality, but it's part of a bigger story about how leaders are trying to address inflation, debt, and fairness in the economy. The debates we're seeing today, about who pays tariffs and who benefits, are going to shape policies far beyond this one idea. Before we wrap up, a quick note. We've partnered with Chapter, a service we confidently recommend for clear, honest Medicare help. They'll connect you with a licensed advisor, compare every Medicare plan in your area, and help you save money. Most people save about $1,100 or $100 a year. It's free, and their Care Advocate team supports you even after you sign up. Call 615-639-1937 or visit askchapter.org/money using the link in the comments below. That's where I'll leave it today. Thank you for being here and following along. Don't forget, drop your thoughts in the comments. If a check like this became real, what would it mean for you? Would it actually help, or do you think higher prices would cancel it out? Let's talk about it below, and make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss the next update, because this story is far from over.